Hi, welcome back to my channel and welcome to this special edition podcast. If you're new here, my name is Oline and I'm a knitter from Norway, and usually I podcast about what I've been knitting lately, what my plans are for knitting, yarn, just all things knitting, but this podcast is going to be all about a pretty large project I've been having this past couple of months, and that is I've been knitting up a pretty large, what we call in Norway, Balaclava, kind of like a baby shower gift, but you give it after the birth. And by the time you're watching this, my twin cousins have been born, so now I'm trying to wrap up this gift so I can give it to them as soon as possible. And since I've been pouring a lot of my knitting time into this gift for the past couple of months, I just want to document what I've made, and also if you are considering gift knitting for someone yourself, or if you have kids yourself, maybe this can give you some inspiration as to what you want to make. I have selected my absolute favorite patterns, the things I used the most when my son was little, and also what I have had the stamina to knit up twice, because that's a quite large part for knitting for twins. You have to do everything twice. But I think we can just get into it then. Some of these projects are actually close to a year old now, because I like to knit baby stuff, so I do that pretty regularly, and if I don't have anyone to give it to, I'll just stash it in my gift drawer. So the first thing I'll show is my project that is a year old this month, and that's the mini Augustins number 1. This is knit in drops Puna, which is not the intended yarn. The intended yarn, I think, is 2 strands of drops Sunday or something like that, but I didn't have that, and I really wanted to try it in drops Puna, which is kind of a DK alpaca yarn, and I really like the look that has given this blanket. It is airy, but it is very soft. It is a bit hairy, but as you can see, not very, and it's just incredibly soft. This is in the color Peanut, and I used about 200 grams for this blanket, and it's also fairly large. This is by Augustine's DK, her blanket pattern, and it's knit in the rounds. You start in the middle here, and then you do increases as you do the lace, and it looks quite intricate, but it really isn't, and it's really fun because, as you can see, there are lots of different textures and types of lace, so you never really get bored. There's always something new to learn or something new to do. I really enjoy this blanket. This was the first one I ever made of this pattern, and since then I think I've made 3 or 4, and I would absolutely recommend doing a blanket in the round if you're considering doing a blanket. I think knitting a blanket back and forth, that takes so long, and you just want to measure all the time, and every time you've measured you've made no progress. Whereas in the round it just flies by, and for this one you don't measure either, you do it by round, so your gauge has to be right if you want it to turn out the right size. But it's really nice to not have to measure all the time, because I measure too frequently and then get a bit disappointed that I haven't made more progress. The thing that's the most time consuming about this is that you do this border all across all the stitches once you're done working in the round, and that is a quite time consuming part, but it also goes by quite quickly if you just get into it. But the part I enjoy the least about this, but it's also the most fun part about this project, is the blocking, because I can show one because I'm working on the other one. This is what it looks like before blocking. As you can see, you don't really see. There's quite a large difference between blocked and unblocked. but when blocking you have to be like very precise and you have to stretch this out. So just laying it out to block usually takes like half an hour for me, but it is well worth it, as you can see, because this is the end result. So I'm really excited to give this away, and I'm so pleased that the blanket I knit last year has finally found its owner and is going to be given away within the family as well. Super excited for that. And I did show you I am working on the second one, and this is the only part of the gift that is not complete. I'm still waiting on more yarn because I calculated wrong. I thought I'd used 150 grams for the other blanket, but I had used 200, so I ran out of yarn while doing the border. So now I'm just waiting on more yarn, but I don't really have the time to wait to film this until I have yarn and have finished everything, because I think I'm going to send the other stuff before I send this, just so they get it, and then I'll send this later. But this is also in drops Puna, but this is the light grey color. I've tried to do different colors for the twins on everything, just to keep them apart and for them to have their own identity, have their own stuff. But yeah, this is the unfinished one. It's not really as exciting to look at, but at least you can see quite a difference in blocking. So block your knit, especially if it's lace, because it makes a difference. But yeah, that's the mini Augustines, and the mini Augustines is the oldest project and the most recent project, so I think that's quite fun. And then I think we can just move in order oldest to newest. Here I have one of the stacks of knits, and I only have one other thing in this stack that was actually pre-made before I knew I was going to have twin cousins, and that's this Monday suit. I very much love the Monday suit, so I have had also just made this on a whim, and it was in my gift drawer. So when I knew I was going to have twin cousins, I looked in my twin drawer and I found this, and I knew of course they had to get a Monday suit. This is in Drops Baby Merino in the color Peanut, and it's in the size 0 to 1 month, so it is the smallest size, and as you can see it is very small. For this one I've made a couple of modifications, but they're not really modifications. I have, let's see if you can see it, I have cast on using tubular cast on, and also done the same for casting off. I just think it gives it that last like elevated finish, so I've done that for all of the arms and legs. And then like my biggest modification that I make for absolutely every suit I make is that I've spaced out the buttons. In the pattern it calls for every 14 rounds, so you would want a button right in between here, but I do every 28 because when you have babies and you're going to pack yourself out the door and get them dressed and everything, the last thing you want to do is have to do 100 buttons, and I would imagine that sentiment just grows stronger when you have twins. So I space the buttons out, just double it, because then it still fits with the pattern. And I think you can get a bit of gapping if you use it until it really doesn't fit anymore, like really stuff it, then you can get a bit of gapping, as you can see. But it's really not an issue, and I've done that for as long as I've knit up these suits, and I've been happy. Everyone I've given them to has been happy. So that's the first Monday suit that I made, I think in April. And then I had to scour through my stash to try and find a color to match this, but that wasn't this color, and I found this. And this is Drops Baby Merino in the color beige. It is a bit colder and darker, but I think they suit each other. And this is just the same as the other one. It's in the size 0 to 1 month. It has been cast on with tubular cast on, cast off with tubular cast off. I've spaced out the buttons, and I've used this. I don't know if you can see. Oh, it's very hard to see. I've used these pretty, like, shiny buttons. So that is the first complete outfit I made twins, and I really enjoy the Monday suit, especially for tiny babies. I really like this curved button band here, so you can kind of open it across like that. I think that's a super cute look for small babies, and I must say, out of all the suits Petite Knit has and all the other suits I've made, I think the Monday suit has to be my favorite. So if you're in the mood to knit up a suit on 3mm needles for babies, I very highly recommend the Monday suit. And then the next thing I got into was this larger set here, because they were going to be twins. I thought it might be a chance that they came a bit early or just were a bit small, so I decided to do a set in premature sizes just in case they were small, and if they weren't, premature sizes can be used for dolls, and that's usually a perfect size for the regular doll, so I thought it will come to use anyway, so I might as well do it. And this is the peanut jacket, peanut romper, and peanut bonnet. And for this I wanted to do different colors again, but here you have the option to kind of mix it, and my favorite way is to do the bonnet and jacket in the same color and then the romper in the other. Same with this other one. Bonnet and jacket in the same color, and then romper in another one. This is knit in Drops Merino Sage Green and Drops Merino Light Grey in the premature size. This is by Little and Loop, and it's the peanut series, so this is kind of the structure you get on the peanut series, and it is quite easy structure that still is impactful. It does a lot with the items of clothing, even though you don't have to do that much to accomplish it. It's just a couple of pearls and knits. But these are super, super, super small. Like, I can't imagine even this small. It's the size of my hand, as you can see. So these are really small and will probably not be used for very long anyways, but then you kind of have doll clothes just ready to go. So I made that as well. I made, and then also if you want to, you can of course combine it like this: jacket, romper, bonnet, all in the same color. For this jacket, I'm pretty sure I just followed the spacing of the buttons, just because I haven't knit this before, so I just wanted to get it right, so I wouldn't get like a gap like this at the bottom without a button or anything. So that's what I did with these with this, and then I have a premature set ready just in case, so that was nice. And I also got to try out a brand new pattern designer and a brand new pattern to me, so it was really a win-win. And I would also recommend Little and Loop if you want to knit up anything for babies. They had quite a few patterns that had a range all the way down to premature, and I thought that was really nice as well. If you want to knit for dolls, or if you get a premature baby, it is nice to have the option to make stuff that small, so I really appreciated that. So that's a tip if you want to make doll clothes or know anyone premature, if you're ever going to have a premature baby, or know anyone that's going to have a premature baby, Little and Loop has great patterns. And then I moved into a bit of larger sizes, because I didn't just want to knit in the same sizes, because then they won't have the time to use it and they'll just grow out of it. So I jumped up to 3 months, and for that I decided to do the Olives wrap. I really like the Olives wrap because it is a wrap, but you also get like double the fabric in front because of it, the fact that it is a wrap, so it gets very warm in the front. And I knit that in Sage, Drops Baby Merino Sage Green, and when I knit this up, I was visiting a friend and she had made the Olives wrap before for her babies, and she showed me a really clever trick, because I've also made this before, but then I've done these strings to tie them together. I've done that both on the outside and on the inside, but she showed me that on the inside you might as well do buttons, and I thought that was very clever, and also just easier and quicker both to knit and to wear probably. So, and I also chose to do 3 just to fasten it more securely. So I have a button right at the neck, under the arm, and then a bit like halfway down the body, just because I feel if you only fasten at the neck and under the arm, you get a lot of what's the word for it, kind of gapping. I'll try to show. So now I've only fastened 2 of the buttons, and then what can happen is that this one will go a bit down and then this one will go a bit down, so it just doesn't line up that well. But if you fasten all 3 buttons, it lines up a lot better. Like this, a more straight edge down here. And I thought it was always also going to be nice to not have to tie the strings under the arm, because I know when I've done that it's been quite hard to do with a big wiggly baby, so I thought buttons just would be easier, but then you still have this to tie at the front. And yeah, I thought that was quite a clever way to do it. I also, instead of doing, let's see if you can see the I-cord, instead of doing 3 stitches on the I-cord, I decided to do 2, because I think 3 stitches can get quite bulky if you're going to tie it together and everything. So I thought 2 stitches was just going to be better, so it wouldn't get all bulky here, because I can't imagine that would be comfortable. So that's the first Olives wrap I made, and it's in the size 3 months, and this pattern is by Knitting for Olive. And then I made another one in the color, I think it's North Sea. I tend to mix this one and Petroleum up, but I think this one is North Sea. And I was so unsure about these colors matching, but I think they ended up matching quite well. Even though they're quite different, they're also quite similar. And with this one, the same, I have strings to tie together in the front and then buttons underneath. This one also in the size 3 months. And yeah, very pleased with how these turned out. And when I started it, I thought these were going to be like a forever project, because I remember the last time I made it myself, and you cast this on from, you knit this down and up. So you start here and you have to cast on all of the stitches for the front and then the back, and then this as well. So I think it's like, I can't remember what it's for this pattern, but it is like 100, 200 stitches depending on the pattern. I think when I did the 12-month size for my son, it was almost 300 if it wasn't. on 3mm needles, and then you're going to knit back and forth. So half the time knits, half the time purls. So it's definitely a project that can take quite some time because of all the purls. But I guess since the last time I made this, I've maybe become more friends with purls, because I didn't really think there was any issue to doing all those purls. So maybe I've just changed my mind about purls since the last time, but yeah, I would recommend this, but keep in mind that it can be a pain in the ass if you don't like purling, because there are many rows of purls with many stitches, but it turns into a very pretty wrap top, and wrap top for babies are also great because you don't have to like pull it over their heads, and I know many people don't like to pull things over babies' heads. And then to go along with those wrap tops, I decided to do tights, and I did the Olives tights just because I think those match. They're both by Knitting for Olive, and I think those make very nice matching sets. So here is the first Olives tights, the one in sage green. I don't think I've made any modifications to this other than I didn't do the feet. The Olives tights originally are like with feet, so you don't need to use socks. But I know people are split. Some people like it, some people don't. But I think they fit a bit longer if you do it without the feet, and then I just prefer it, and then I also didn't have to knit the feet, so that was also a bit of the reason why. So I did ribbing instead, and then cast off with tubular cast off instead of doing the feet. So I hope that makes these fit a bit longer, because then you don't have to stub your toe if you kind of grow a lot. But yeah, and then the same with this, knit it without the feet, just with ribbing and tubular bind off. But I don't think there's much else to say about these. But they are a super simple knit. You cast on at the top as well, and I very much like casting on at the top for pants, because then you don't have to do all of the magic loop stuff, because if you knit like bottom up for pants, it gets very tight in the crotch area, but if you knit top down, that's not an issue. And also there are just very simple stockinette tights, and they have a great fit. They have German short rows in the back to make the diaper fit better. Yeah, I recommend this. It's been a favorite of mine, both to give away and to wear when I had a baby. So I recommend it. And then when I was visiting my friend that I talked about, that gave me the suggestions for doing the buttons on the inside of the Olives wrap, she also gave me some of her leftover yarn, some of her scrap yarn, because she thought maybe I could do a twin gift with those. And she gave me some scraps of this ice blue drops by merino, and some of scraps in petroleum. If you watched my podcast, you know I have struggled with this, because I thought she gave me enough scraps to do the 3 to 6 month size, and it turned out when I did this one first, it turned out when I was on the body I had like this much to go. It wasn't enough. I had calculated wrong, so I had to buy another skein, but I was sure I had gotten more of this yarn, so it wasn't going to be a problem with this, so I only bought a skein of yarn for this one. And then, lo and behold, when I had gotten the skein for this one, I realized that I didn't have enough yarn for this one either, so I had to buy a skein for that as well. These are, by the way, the Anker Blouse by Petite Knit. I have knit a lot of Petite Knit for this gift, but I just very much like her patterns. I like the fit. I like that they are quite unisex. I like how well they are written. And I also am very bad at finding new designers. So I just go for what I know. But these are the Anker blouses, and they took a lot longer than I would have thought because I had to wait for yarn a lot. But I think they turned out super pretty, and they really inspired me to broaden my horizons when it comes to color, because I would have never picked this up myself. But I love this color. Like, this climbed to my #1 spot in colors almost. It is just such a stunning, like, light blue, ice blue. I'm in love. When I bought another skein for this, I wanted to buy like 20 just to have it, but I'm trying to like hold back. But here are the Anker blouses. They have a button in the back, so it's easier to get over the head. It's not that tight over the head, so that's great for babies as well. This is the 3 to 6 size. So this, I think this is the largest thing I made for the twins. Yeah, these are also just the same. One thing I really did enjoy with this is that I did, instead of doing ribbing, I did like a folded down cuff, is that what it's called, also on the body, and I almost never do that. I love ribbing. Even if the pattern asks me to do a folded over cuff, I might do ribbing because I just love a good rib. But I wanted to try it with this, and I'm going to stick to the pattern next time it asks me to do a folded over cuff, because it actually looks really sleek and elegant. So now I kind of want a sweater like this for myself, not necessarily an Ankers, but one with a folded over cuff. So I feel like just every step of the way on this baby shower gift, even though it is patterns I've knit before from a designer I've knit a lot of stuff from, I have actually learned a lot through this process. But that was the Anker blouse. And now we're getting into like super recent knits. The knits I'm going to show now have been finished, all of them I think pretty much have been finished this week. Some of them aren't quite finished even, but we can start with these Willums overalls. These are my absolute favorite pants ever when it comes to babies, and again, Petite Knit. There might be better pants out there, I just don't know about them. Feel free to inspire me with new patterns designers as well. I am looking for them, I just don't know where to find them. And especially not ones that do like boy clothes. I think that's super hard to find any good knitting designers that also designs for boys or men or anything. There's very like female dominated. But here are the Willums. They are both knit in Drops Merino Extra Fine. This one in light grey and this one in medium grey. And they are both in the size 2 to 4 months. So I think they would overlap a bit with these Anker blouses. I've tried to like make sets as much as possible, like one thing, one shirt, one trouser. But here are the Willums. They are almost done, except I need to sew in buttons. But I finished weaving in ends for these last night, quite late, and then I washed them and they just dried, so I haven't gotten around to doing that yet because I just wanted to film. These are a super quick knit. I used 24 hours on this one, 24 hours on this one. So if you're in the market for some good pants, go for this. They also go from the size 2 to 4 months to 4 years, I think. So this pattern gives you a lot of years with really good pants. My son has had one of these pants in every size, and he's 2 years old now, and they are as good now as they were when he was a baby. So I highly, highly, highly recommend this. They are great. I didn't really make any modifications to this other than on, I don't know what it's called, the part here in the front that goes like up here. In the pattern you're supposed to do something that like folds over and then you sew it down in the back, but I don't like sewing, so I decided to do Italian bind off instead on this, and I like that look much more, so from now on that's what I'm going to do. I did that on both. Another tip, that's not a modification, but another tip if you're going to make anything really with, what's it called? Straps, is that don't knit them one at a time, because then you have to do a lot of counting and it's just a bad time for everyone involved. You should knit them at the same time. So if you have a skein, you do like the one yarn end from the inside of the yarn and one yarn end from the outside of the yarn, and then with the one from the inside you can do one strap, and then with the one from the outside you can do the other strap, and then you have them on the same needle. So you knit both of them that way and then both of them that way. I don't know if this was a good explanation, but look into it if this wasn't a good explanation, because it really is a game changer. I started doing it that way 1.5 years ago, and doing things with straps is no longer an issue. I would dread it the whole project before, but now I know I can just do them at the same time, and then I won't have to count, and they will always turn out the same length, because there will be exactly the same amount of rows knit at the same time on the same needles, and I just can't recommend it enough. But these are the Willums. Yes, and now we only have the accessories left. When I went into this twin knit, I had a lot of plans, and throughout the knit I have had to cut away some of the plans, just because I don't have unlimited amount of time to knit, and I imagine this will not be the last time I knit for them, just because I love knitting up baby knits and children's knits, and now that we have more children in the family, I don't think anyone really can stop me from knitting for them. But I did have more plans that I have ended up being able to do, especially for accessories, because I did accessories last and my time is up. But I'll just show what I have. Let's see, I finished these ones first. These are my absolute staple when knitting up baby gift, and it's the Sunday Socks Junior. Here they are knit in drops Lima in the color almond and in the color chalk. Yeah, these are a Petite Knit pattern, but the pattern doesn't go all the way down to the size I want. As you can see, they are very small, and the smallest pattern in the smallest size in the pattern I think is 22 to 23. But I want more like a 17-18 size. So what I did the first time I made this is I looked at other patterns that went further down in size but wasn't the fit I was looking for, and measured how long the foot was on those. And then I knit the first sock I ever made in this size and just measured along as I did it to get the right fit. And the right fit for that size ended up being, if you have the pattern, I follow the pattern exactly for the 22 to 23 until I get here, after you've done the decreases after the heel. between the decreases here and the decreases for the toe, I only do 10 rows, and 10 is a very easy number to remember, so I have never had to measure again. Every time I knit these socks, I do exactly 10 rows in between the 2 decreases, and then I end up with these perfect socks. And I love these socks because you can do them like these, and then you cover most of the calf, or you can do the cuff down, and then they are a lot more secure around the ankle. So I absolutely love this. I knit them every time I'm going to give away a baby gift. These are a part of that baby gift, and this of course couldn't be different, so made this. Another great thing about them is that they are a super quick knit. I think if you go a bit crazy, you could probably knit both pairs in a night, or at least 24 hours, just if you really went for it. But I super recommend doing this for gift, even though if you're gifting something away for an older child. These are great. I still use these a lot for my son, but I especially recommend it if you're doing a baby gift, just because they are quite versatile. They're really warm, soft, great. I only have great things to say about it. Also, the 2x2 ribbing on this makes it quite stretchy, so it can be used for quite some time. So super recommend those. And then my last thing in this gift is Monday balaclavas. I made 2, of course, and again, sage green, light grey, drops baby merino. These are in the size 1 to 3 months. They are going to be winter babies, so I decided to do most of the knits in a smaller size. Yeah, I don't think I made any modifications at all to this pattern. It is by Petite Knit. It is a super great fit again, and yeah, it is just a thin balaclava. It is on 3mm needle, so it's not going to be the warmest balaclava, but I think for a little baby it's nice with not such a chunky knit, and it's not like a 1 to 3 month old baby is going to be out in super cold weather for long extended periods of time. So I just think this balaclava is going to be the perfect amount of warm to keep them warm. But that's the very last part of my baby gift, and these were finished very late last night, and I'm so glad I managed to get everything except for that one blanket done. And now I'm just going to pack everything up so I can ship it. I hope you enjoyed this kind of different podcast episode from me, and maybe that you got a bit of inspiration if you want to do any gift knits for babies. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know, leave a like and a comment. That means the absolute world to me. If you want to see more from me, please follow me on Instagram at strikkeoline, and if you want to see more from me on YouTube, please subscribe. Bye!